one state. After the collapse of the Western Roman Empire, Italy was split amongst many states. These states were influenced and ruled by outside powers like France, Austria and Spain. Italian independence and unification started to become ideas during the Napoleonic occupation, and there was even a Kingdom of Italy ruled by Napoleon.
The First Italian War of Independence was in 1848. It failed after a lack of support for Sardinia, because no one likes Sardinians. The Second Italian War of Independence was successful, yay! The French supported Sardinia and was able to annex the Habsburg-controlled regions. Italy was now unified except for the Papal States, but the Papal States were protected by France, so Italy could not invade. However, in 1870, France could no longer protect it due to its disastrous war with Prussia, so Italy annexed it. Cheeky. Unification had been a very divided country, despite the liberal Italy period having been spent trying to unify Italy and make everyone Italian. The First World War had divided them further. Since 1882, Italy had been a defensive alliance between Germany and Austria-Hungary, called the Triple Alliance, because however, Italy wanted the more territory from Austria than they did from France, which couldn't be done because of the alliance. Italy could not abandon the alliance because this could reveal themselves to both the Triple Alliance and the Triple Entente. Italy was not obliged to the war because the alliance was defensive, that they had viewed Austria as aggressors against Serbia. The Italian government was about to gain Italian territory from Austria, but the Austrians did not want to give that to the Italians. So Italy joined the war on the side of France and Britain. Intervening in the war had divided the liberals and strengthened the nationalists and radicals. The entry into the war also a point of distinction from Mussolini, from his party as the Socialists, was very pro-war.
Support for the fascists increased a lot as the Italians felt that they had fought a long and bloody war. When the Italian government publicly demanded Fiume, the Allies said no, and the Italians felt like they'd been betrayed. Mussolini gained an advantage from this as he was leader of the fascists. The widespread feeling about Italy's mutilated victory was exploited in September 1919 by the Italian poet and war hero Gabriele D'Annunzio. After the First World War in the Paris Peace Conference, the city of Fiume had gone to the Yugoslavs, even though it had a lot of Italians in it. D'Annunzio got mad about this and seized the city of Fiume and occupied it for 15 months, forcing the withdrawal of French and British troops. The next day, D'Annunzio declared it a part of Italy, and the Italian Fiumans were very happy about this. But the Italian government said no, it belongs to the Yugoslavs. D'Annunzio didn't want to be a part of this, and he declared war on all of Italy. The Italians sent some boat, bombed a bunch of stuff, and D'Annunzio ran away with his men. This created the Free State of Fiume that lasted 4 years until Mussolini came along with his pastor and said, "Hey, why is Fiume not a part of the Italy?" So he signed a treaty.
In 1919, the Socialist Party were like kings. They had the power with the majority of the seats, totaling 153 in all. However, the party was divided over the intervention and Italy's post-war aims. This then led to the party into collapse. Being on top, they believed no other party could challenge them. The main headline in the newspaper Avanti was, "All we have to do is wait," exposing the willingness to sit back and not take up any action. Sitting around and waiting was not the best thing that they could do, especially when Mussolini came along with his fascist party.
Into the 1921 Italian election. The complicit Socialist Party had a decline in seats, totaling with 123. Giolitti, who had previously made a pact with Mussolini, was declined the fascist parliamentary support. Thus, under these circumstances, he resigned as Prime Minister. The Fascist Party was so appealing to the public due to its vigorous and effective anti-socialism methods, its patriotism and its protection of Italian interests, and strong emphasis on making Mussolini a great and powerful leader. Even though the Fascist Party had won only 35 seats, Mussolini would still be able to gain the
Fascist violence was increased, no longer wanting to destroy the fascist enemies, but gain control of the entire provinces within Italy. Achieved by using thousands of unemployed men and launching savage attacks on the lives of non-fascist leaders, Entire provinces fell to the aggression and violence until the fascists were in control of almost everywhere in Italy. That is, except for Rome. With the coup in the provinces leaving the government in Rome powerless, most of Italy was controlled by the Mussolini and the fascists. Despite using fascist violence to intimidate his political opponents, Mussolini was frightened by an anti-fascist coalition, led by a strong political figure such as Giolitti, disallowing the fascist party to seize power. After a bunch of conferences and meetings, the all-powerful Mussolini came out on top and gave the royal kingdom a true dilemma. King Victor Emmanuel III needed to find a new prime minister, and Mussolini was the chosen one. On the 30th of October, Mussolini was crowned prime minister by King Vic himself, and on the 31st of October, a victory parade of some 70,000 fascist supporters marched through the streets of Rome. For Mussolini, this was a great day.
For Italy had suffered from chronic instability, and the turbo law seemed like a good solution. With the non-fascist party realising Mussolini could dissolve the parliament and rule by emergency decree only, they wanted to keep power within the parliament. The turbo law would give the parties that received the largest amount of votes, so long as it was over 25%, 2/3 of the seat in parliament, so that they could have the majority pass laws through parliament without having to use unstable coalitions. Most parties were for the turbo law, except for the Popolari and the Socialists, because they would lose out. However, the Popolari were forced to support it after the Vatican supported Mussolini. In the final vote, all the fascists and liberals supported the turbo law. The Popolari abstained and the Socialists and Communists opposed it. It passed 235 to 139. The turbo law was used for the first and only time in the 1924 election, which saw Mussolini's fascists lacking skilled politicians. They formed an electoral alliance that included fascists, liberals and some popolari. This group represented the centre and the right of Italian politics and had a sweeping victory in 1924, giving even more from the turbo law. Even though only 2/3 of Mussolini's electoral bloc were fascist, due to the turbo law they were all forced to support Mussolini. After the election, the opposition was very split between liberals, socialists, communists and the popolari, meaning the opposition was Mussolini had no real opposition. 375 in the parliament were Mussolini supporters, 39 were a rump of the Popolari party and 46 were socialists, but they were split between two parties and there were 9.
During 1922 and 1923, Mussolini was a great prime minister, doing normal prime minister things such as signing papers, passing acts, arresting communist leaders, enacting decrees on land, redistributing and creating the fascist militia, which he used as violence as a way of rigging the 1924 election. He wasn't the prime minister, he was the leader. It was during this time that he managed to take back Fiume and also abduct and murdered the leader of the Socialist Party. In 1925, he placed a ban on the Socialist Party and then thought, why not ban all political parties? So he did. He ruled by decree, meaning that if he wanted something, he got it. He even formed his own secret police. After the 1924 election, Mattoni was Mussolini's only real rival, and he questions the validity of the 1924 election. He was kidnapped, beaten to death, and his body was not found for another 2 months.